Okay, now we're going to start the process of actually importing our data. So let's look at our web page real quick, and we'll see, here's our ERD data. There are two sets of files. The first one is a spreadsheet. This spreadsheet contains all of the data for our five tables in separate sheets. And those sheets then give you the ability to output the data in whatever format, columns, whatever you need. I provide this file in the event that you didn't do the exercise of ordering your columns like the solution. If you did order your columns like the solution, you're going to be able to use these 5 files, and importing of data is going to take about 3 minutes, and you're done. So it's worth the extra effort to order your tables correctly. Here's an example of what that spreadsheet looks like. Here's the data. Now, when we output to a CSV file, we don't want the header in here. When we do the import into a table, it doesn't need the headers. So if you did not order your columns in the same as the solution, you have to do this step. Otherwise, ignore this and skip ahead in the video where I actually use the CSV files. But let's say, for example, that you had patient gender here and you needed it after MRN. So I can cut that. I can paste those cut cells right there. And now that I'm ready to output this to a CSV file, I can save as, select CSV, call it what I need to, and I can save it. And then I'll have a CSV file ready to go. Now, these are important because they are dates. We have to format the dates. In order to format the dates, I'm going to select them. So grab them all, right click, format cells. And I'm going to look at what I have in here in date, see if I like any of those. This is the one I want to use. Click OK. And it formats it as a date with a time, because what I want it to look like is the following. There's my dates. Year, month, day. And so that's not correct. So let's go look again. So I want format cells. I'm going to come down to custom. And say, okay, which is the one I want? So I want year. And what you're going to find is it doesn't exist in the current Excel. So again, go back down to format cells. You're not going to find it in here or anywhere. Go to custom and just type it in. So we want year, month, day, space, hour, minute. And click OK, and it will automatically format them that way. And then we will have the output. Let me go back to here. That looks like the following. year, month, day. Now you can choose not to have the zeros in here. It's going to drop it anyway. So if that's the case and you like that better, I can go back here to Format Cells, Custom. There's the one I put in. Let's say I don't want this. Just do it like that. And there we go. Look exactly like we need. And then I can file save as a CSV and get for each one of these. Not all of them have dates. Some of them you can just output. But again, the only reason we would do this, the only reason we would be doing and messing with the Excel file is if you didn't order your columns in the same order. So this is really important that everything is in the right order because we have our foreign key and primary key relationships in our tables, which is also why you will see that it tells you the order to load your data. So we're supposed to order with diagnosis first. So let's do that. First thing I did was I clicked on the diagnosis CSV and downloaded that. And I'm going to look at that file real quick. And you can see it has a primary key, a code, another value, and then a description. If I go to the diagnosis table in Workbench, I can open up all these little arrows. I can open up columns, and I can see diagnosis ID, code, code system, and then diagnosis name. Is that what I have? Yes, it is. So my ordering is correct. There's my primary key, diagnosis ID, my diagnosis code, my code system, and then my name. All right, so let's import that. How do we do that? So I'm going to click on the diagnosis table, and I'm going to click on this little grid over here. When I do that, it's going to select, and it's going to show me everything that this is my results grid. I'm going to move this one down a little bit. I'm going to move this one up a little bit. And you can see I have an empty table. There's nothing in it. I'm going to import. I do that through these two buttons. So the first one, import record set to an external, or export. I don't want to export. Import from an external file. Yes. So I'm going to click that one. I'm going to go find my diagnosis file, which is right here. Double click on it. And look at that. Now we're not done. It's showing me, here's how I'm going to import it. Diagnosis ID, code, system, name. Looks good to me. Click apply. That's the most important part. That's going to create your insert statements. And we're going to use this in a minute. Click apply again. Does its work. Finish. And we're done. Well, how do we know? We'll go back over to diagnosis. Right click on it. Or left click on the table name, right, or left click on the grid again. It's going to execute this SQL, or I could just highlight this and click this lightning bolt. And there we go. That's the data that's in the diagnosis table. It's done. It's next. Providers. Providers, right click or left click the grid, it's empty. Hit that button. Go to where my file's at for providers. There's my providers. MPI number, first name, last name, credentials, all looks good. Apply. There's the SQL. Apply. Finish. That one's done. Okay. What's next? Interventions. Interventions. Click the grid again. Do the import. I know it just gets monotonous after a while. Interventions. Those look right. Now notice we've got a foreign key here. This is why we had to do providers before we did interventions. And it's really important that it look like this. Apply, apply. If you get an error here that it can't do something, it's more than likely because your order is not correct. And you have to reorder either the CSV file, which if there's only 3 records, that's easy to do, or you have to do it in the Excel file. All right, well, we're almost done. Patience is the next one. I know that. Click on the grid. Go find my file. This one we're going to have a little bit more work, though. Maybe. Okay, birth dates look good. That all looks good. MRNs, first name, middle name, last name, gender. Interventions, notice this is a foreign key into my interventions table, which I've previously loaded. Click apply. Click apply. All done. Good deal. Last one, problem list. This one, let's just see. All right, go find my file. All right, now notice something a little different. We have these nulls in my resolve date. Okay, because I don't have a date. 0 is a date, theoretically. Null means no date. Let's try this. Let's apply it. And it's going to produce some SQL. Now, notice one thing. See these nulls? They're in single quotes. That's a string. It's going to send it as a string. We don't want that. We actually want null like that. We want it to turn blue. So for each of these nulls, we have to go in here and get rid of these single quotes. Like that. So this is what it should look like when you do the import with the nulls. I'm going to click apply. Successful. Finish. Let's go look. I just go up here and click this lightning bolt. And voila, there we go. Now, if you get an error when you try to do this, and it says something about not able to put a null in the date, there's a reason. What you want to do is, we're talking about the problem list. So here's my problem list. You want to right click on the problem list table and go to alter table. Right down here. I don't know why I have 19 of them, but okay. Alter table. It may be that when you look at this, these are all your columns and characteristics about your columns. That the NN is not null, meaning it cannot be null if that's checked. More than likely, your resolve date and maybe your note date is like that. That's what it looks like. If that's the case, take those off so we can allow nulls. Click apply. Then you can close this. You can go back and try again to do your import. And then those nulls will actually go in as a null. This is what you want the table to look like. You don't want this to have zeros in here. If you have zeros in here, you probably did not take off the single quotes on the null. Once you've done that, you're done. And the entire 8 weeks is all done. All right, thank you.